Time, we speak of it as though we know it intimately. We chase it, waste it, kill it, manage it. We tuck it into calendars, assign it numbers, bind it to clocks, and declare it linear, steady, absolute. Yet, under the illusion of our control, there pulses a much older truth, hidden rhythm, not carved by ticking hands or measured by sunrises, but written in the very substance of our being. It is a truth obscured by centuries of conditioning, buried beneath cultural myths and scientific certainties, yet it whispers to us in déjà vu, in dreams that feel like memories, in the strange sensation that moments repeat or loop like echoes within a grand, silent chamber. You've been told time is a straight road, that there was a beginning and there will be an end, that you are moving forward on this road at a fixed pace, from past to present to future, as though born into a story already written. But this belief's so deeply woven into every school lesson, every tick of the second hand, every deadline and daybreak has quietly severed you from the timeless, from the idea that past and future might live within you now, that your memories could be far more than passive recordings, and that your future might already be sending signals back across the veil of linearity. In the modern world, time is sold to us like a commodity. We are urged to spend it wisely, to be productive, efficient, ever forward moving. Yet in the spaces between tasks, in the hollow between heartbeats, something feels off. We sense that perhaps time isn't just a measurement, it is a prison dressed as progress. And what if the prison door is unlocked? What if the concept of now is not a fleeting moment, but a boundless field where everything, your childhood laughter, your future awakening, your deepest truths exists simultaneously, vibrating like harmonics in a great cosmic chord? Ancient mystics and modern physicists alike have glimpsed this paradox. The sages of old described time not as a line but as a spiral, a wheel, a dance. The quantum world suggests that particles do not obey temporal order as we do, that causality may be a convenience more than a law. And somewhere in the hush between philosophy and mathematics lies a deeper machinima, hidden architecture of reality that controls your relationship to time. It is not physical, but perceptual. It is not a machine, but a pattern. And it is this pattern that has shaped your sense of identity, your understanding of destiny, your belief in what's possible or already lost. This pattern is not benign. It is not neutral. For once you believe in the illusion of time as a strict progression, you believe in separation. You separate who you were from who you are becoming. You fracture the self into past regrets and future worries. You forget that the eternal lives in this moment, fully formed, waiting for your awareness to recognize it. And in that forgetting, you become vulnerable to manipulation, not just by external systems, but by the constructs of your own conditioned mind. To awaken from this illusion is to regain something immeasurable, not time itself, but your sovereignty over it. When you step outside the lie, you begin to see that your life is not a story being written as you go, but a living manuscript you are already holding. You can read it forwards or backwards. You can edit it. You can fold the pages until past touches, future and present becomes luminous with meaning. This journey we are about to take is not about clock faces or quantum equations. It is about perception, about consciousness, about the recognition that time, as you've been taught to understand it, is a myth, and like all myths, it holds both a shadow and a secret. And if you are willing to peer beyond the veil, to challenge the programming etched into your days and decades, you may find the keys not only to escaping the illusion, but to mastering it. Because time is not your jailer, it is your canvas. You've simply been told otherwise. The most powerful illusions are those we never question. Time, as it's been handed down to us, isn't just a neutral framework, it's a lens that colors everything we see. Beneath the surface of hours and years, deeper mechanisms stir. These mechanisms shape how we relate to ourselves, how we define meaning, and even how we perceive reality itself. To uncover them is to begin dissolving the veil that has long divided what is real from what is merely habitual. One of the most central ideas we must confront is linearity, the belief that time flows in a single, uninterrupted direction, always pushing forward. This belief forms the skeleton of modern life. It tells you that the past is dead, that the future is unknown, and that the present is a fleeting bridge stretched between two unknowables. But in truth, this straight line is not found in the wild world. Nature operates in cycles. Seasons return. Stars rise and fall in rhythms. Cells die and regenerate. Even our emotions spiral back into familiar patterns, looping until seen clearly. The universe itself hums and loops in tide-knot lines. Yet we have been taught to ignore the cyclical. Linear time creates urgency, the pressure to achieve before an invisible deadline. It fosters anxiety in the face of change, guilt over the past, and fear of a future we cannot see. And worst of all, it conditions us to believe that the self we were can never reach back and inform the self we are becoming. That is the true theft, the disconnection from our own wholeness, the fragmentation of the soul into past wounds and future hopes, instead of a unified field of being that encompasses all of it, here and now. Another pillar of the illusion is objectivity, the idea that time exists independently of perception. But even the most basic glance at physics reveals this to be false. Einstein showed us that time is relative, that it bends with gravity and moves differently for observers at different velocities. Time is not a universal constant. It is entangled with the observer, and this truth, strange and sublime, opens a doorway to a greater revelation. If time depends on perspective, then the way you experience it is not fixed. It is moldable. It can be expanded, slowed, even escaped not physically, but perceptually through shifts in consciousness. We see glimmers of this already. In moments of awe, time stretches. In love, hours vanish. In trauma, seconds elongate into eternities. And in deep meditation or altered states, time collapses entirely. These are not errors in the system, they are hints of its deeper nature. Time is experienced from within, and when we understand this, we begin to sense that the past and future are not out there, but folded into the present, accessible through inner awareness. This brings us to memory and prophecy, to strange companions that sit like sentinels at the edge of conscious time. Memory is often thought of as a backward-looking record, but in truth it is creative. We reconstruct our past with each act of recall, subtly reshaping it. And the future, far from being a blank slate, calls to us through intuition, synchronicity, dream, and desire. In the hidden framework of time, past and future are not destinations, but frequencies. And with the right tuning, consciousness can touch them. At the center of all these truths is the idea that you are the timekeeper. The clock does not dictate reality, you do. Your beliefs about time, your emotional relationship with it, your stories about what happened or might happen, all of these form the architecture of your inner universe. And it is this architecture that shapes your choices, your habits, your reality. So when we speak of the hidden mechanism of time, we are not talking about gears behind a clock or equations scribbled on chalkboards. We are speaking of a structure of belief reinforced by culture, education, and personal experience that has taught you to abandon your power. It has convinced you that you are moving through time, when in fact, time moves through you. The truth is not that time is a lie, but that we have accepted only a fragment of its truth. The full picture is far more mysterious and infinitely more empowering. When you realize that time is subjective, layered, and responsive to awareness, you are no longer a passive traveler. You become a navigator. You become a weaver of timelines. You gain the power to rewrite the narrative that has held you hostage in regret or anxiety, and instead become present to the infinite potential of the moment you are in. This is the awakening. This is the rupture in the facade, not to destroy the concept of time, but to transcend its tyranny. to remember that the past is still alive in your body, that the future is whispering in your dreams, and that the present, far from being a fleeting instant, is a vast temple where all of time converges, waiting for your recognition. Imagine, for a moment, an old library standing at the edge of the universe, not built of stone, but of memory and myth, echoing with a silence deeper than sound. Within its endless halls are not books, but moments, each one suspended like a glowing thread, stretching between the shelves like the delicate lattice of a spider's web. You walk through it barefoot, and every step you take vibrates the entire weave. This library is you, and you are it. Time is not something you move through, but something that blooms within you, like a hidden organ that pulses with possibility. Now envision a clock unlike any other. Its face is not circular, nor its hands made of brass. This clock rests in the heart of every soul, and its ticking is not toward death, but toward remembering. Its hours do not mark linear passage, but layers of unfolding, like petals of a flower that reveal deeper dimensions the more you look. This sacred clock is not governed by mechanics, but by meaning, and its mechanism is consciousness itself. There is an ancient myth, whispered in dream and ceremony, of the river of time. Not a river that flows in one direction, but one that spirals like a cosmic whirlpool. Souls, it is said, drink from this river before birth and forget their origin, bound to the illusion of time's arrow. But those who remember, those who awaken, can step outside the current. They do not resist the river, but float above it, able to touch its surface at any point, past, present, or future, because they know the river was never linear. It only appeared so to those who fell asleep. Another story speaks of the mirror of moments. It is said that every event in life, no matter how small, casts two reflections, one in the realm of time and one outside of it. The first is seen, the action, the consequence, the memory, but the second is unseen, the lesson, the pattern, the karmic thread that winds through lifetimes. Most live only in the surface mirror, chasing shadows of what once was or might be. But the wise learn to gaze deeper, seeing how one heartbreak might echo through decades, how one choice ripples across generations, how even the smallest kindness can alter the course of worlds. The mirror shows that time is never lost, is only hidden in layers of awareness. And then there is the parable of the masked traveler. He journeys through cities and deserts, through birth and death, never remembering who he truly is. Each life, he dons a new mask, father, daughter, beggar, king, and believes the role to be real. But in rare moments, between breaths, between thoughts, he catches a glimpse of his own reflection in a window or a river's surface, and remembers, if only for a heartbeat, that he is not the mask. He is the watcher behind the play, and in that instant, time collapses. All his lives touch, all his masks dissolve, and he sees the whole story at once, not as a chain of events, but as a single cosmic poem. Even our dreams conspire to remind us. Have you never awoken with the haunting sense that you visited another Tim, another self, that what you dreamt was not fantasy, but memory from a forgotten strand of your being? Time in dreams refuses the rules. It loops, leaps, folds. It knows that chronology is a convenience, not a commandment, and it whispers this to us every night, hoping we will remember by morning. Symbols, too, carry the blueprint. The Ouroboros, the serpent that devours its own tails, not merely about eternity. It is about self-reflective time, time that renews by feeding on itself. The spiral, so often carved into stone and bone, is a map of time's true motion, not a circle trapped in repetition, but a dynamic return where every cycle rises higher than the last. Even the labyrinth, that ancient puzzle of pathways, is a metaphor for the temporal soul. Each turn, each seeming dead end, is part of a sacred choreography leading not forward, but inward. To understand time as symbolic is to understand that it is not simply about measurement, it is about meaning. It is the canvas on which our stories unfold, But the stories were never just linear scripts. They are holograms, each moment a fractal of the whole, containing within it the seed of every other. Your birth, your grief, your greatest joy, they all echo each other. They are not separate points, but luminous nodes in a vast living web. And if you look close enough, feel deep enough, you begin to notice something extraordinary. Time doesn't just move through you, it moves for you. It waits for you to awaken. It repeats what you haven't healed. It offers you patterns, not punishments. It cycles not to trap you, but to give you endless chances to remember who you are beyond the ticking hands of the world's illusion. These stories aren't just metaphors, they are maps. They guide us to a place beyond clocks and calendars, beyond regret and anticipation, to the eternal moment unfolding in the space behind thought. And when you step into that space, when you remember the library, the river, the mirror, you no longer fear the past or dread the future. You understand they are both teachers, and time, in its deepest sense, becomes not a prison but a portal. There is a profound paradox in awakening to time's illusion. Once you realize that the past, present, and future are not separate islands, but vibrating strands of a single web, you begin to live with more precision, not less. Far from becoming lost in abstraction, your actions grow clearer, more intentional. You no longer chase clocks, you choose moments. You move not as a prisoner of time, but as its sculptor. In ordinary life, we are trained to see time as an enemy. There's never enough of it. Time is running out. It's too late. These phrases shape our breath, mold our nervous system, and keep us locked in a state of contraction. But imagine, even for a day, living with the awareness that time expands or contracts based on your presence. You're not running out of time. You're leaking it through unconscious living. The more aware you are, the more time you seem to have, not because hours change, but because your relationship to them does. When you drop into the eternal naphtali, honestly, you discover a quiet miracle. Time opens up, the conversation deepens, the walk slows down, the touch lingers longer. This isn't poetic fantasy, it's a neurological reality. Attention expands perception, and perception shapes experience. In other words, when you cease to divide your attention between past regrets and future worries, your present moment becomes a cathedral. It stretches, it echoes, it resonates. This is not to say you ignore practical timekeeping, schedules, appointments, plans. They remain, but they become containers, not dictators. You set a meeting not because you fear being late, but because you respect rhythm. You plan ahead not from anxiety, but from artistry. You begin to treat your day not as a race, but as a composition. Each hour a note, each pause a breath, each intention a brushstroke on a canvas you are still painting. Consider your mornings. Most people launch into them already fractured, scrolling through headlines, reacting to notifications, haunted by yesterday or dreading tomorrow. But the awakened relationship with time transforms the morning ritual into a sacred rite. You might begin with silence, not out of discipline, but out of reverence. You light a candle, you sip tea as though it were ancient medicine. You open your journal not to dump your to-do list, but to listen to what time itself is whispering to you. You ask, what is this day asking of me, not just in output, but in meaning? That one question can change the shape of an entire week. Time is not just about minutes, it's about meaning. And when your life is guided by meaning, time begins to serve you. In relationships, this understanding becomes even more profound. Arguments lose their sharpness when you realize that you're often reacting not just to this moment, but to years of unprocessed echoes. You hear a tone, and it triggers an entire past timeline. But if you become still, if you see that both you and the other are swimming through intersecting rivers of memory, you can respond from presence, not projection. That pause alone can alter destinies. Likewise, forgiveness becomes less about forcing yourself to let go, and more about recognizing that the past only continues hurting you. because you keep re-entering its version of time. To forgive is to time travel differently. It's to take your story and let it age into wisdom, instead of letting it harden into bitterness. You don't erase what happened, you simply stop bowing to its illusion of permanence. Even in the realm of career or personal ambition, time transforms from a measuring stick into a vessel of vision. No longer do you panic about being behind. Behind what? A fictional timeline society imposed. Instead, you ask, what rhythm is truest for me? What season am I truly in? You begin to act from alignment, not acceleration. Ironically, this often leads to faster results, not because you rushed, but because you harmonized with your own current. Productivity, once chained to time management, becomes an expression of energetic mastery. You begin to notice when your mind is freshest, when your body feels most inspired, when your emotions want to retreat or bloom, and you listen. You structure your life less like a factory and more like a garden. You prune, you pause, you plant, and even death begins to lose its oppressive weight. Not because grief vanishes, but because you sense that what we call an ending is merely a bend in the river, not the final shore. Loved ones lost seem closer, not further. Their voices echo through your inner time. You remember them not as shadows in the past, but as presences that have become unbound from chronology. They speak to you from outside the clock, and you, now aware, can hear them. Meditation, breathwork, creative flow, these become more than just tools. They are doors. They are ways of entering the timeless. They train your nervous system to relax its grip on past-future obsession. Even 5 minutes a day spent in stillness, true stillness, can recalibrate your entire perception of what a long day feels like. You stop filling time, you start feeling it. And when others ask you how you do so much, or how you stay so calm, you won't have a checklist to give them, you'll just smile. Because the truth is, you stopped believing the lie that time owns you, the lie that time is slipping. You now see it clearly. Time was never slipping, it was waiting for you to arrive. There is a moment in every seeker's journey when the pursuit stops feeling like a chase and begins to feel like a homecoming. That moment is often quiet, unnoticed by the world. It doesn't happen on mountaintops or in sacred temples. It happens in the stillness between thoughts, in the silence after a breath, in the flicker of insight when you realize that the calendar is not your master and the clock is not your god. In that moment, you don't escape time, you see through it. This truth, so simple, it feels like poetry. So deep, it undoes you, shimmers beneath the skin of all ancient wisdom. That time is a veil, and you are what lies beyond it. You are the witness, not the hourglass, the eternal, not the fleeting, the flame, not the wick. You were never meant to merely survive the ticking of days. You were meant to dance with time, to sculpt it, to awaken inside it like a lucid dreamer who suddenly realizes their dreaming end, begins to fly. To live this way requires no monastery, no robe, no retreat. It requires only one thing, awareness. But awareness is not passive, it is radical, it is revolutionary. It means meeting each moment not as a means to an end, but as the end itself. It means daring to show up, again and again, not as a slave of chronology, but as a co-creator of meaning. When you live like this, everything changes. The ordinary becomes mythic. A conversation becomes a cosmic alignment. A cup of coffee becomes a ritual of presence. A walk becomes a pilgrimage. You stop measuring your worth by productivity and start measuring it by depth. You stop asking, "What time is it?" and start asking, "What is this moment asking of me?" This doesn't mean life becomes perfect or always peaceful. Storms still come, chaos still knocks, but you meet them differently. You recognize them not as disruptions to your timeline, but as sacred punctuation commas, not conclusions. Even pain begins to look like initiation. Even endings begin to look like doorways. And something else awakens to something ancient in your bones. A memory that time is not only a mechanism of the mind, but a mirror of your soul's unfolding. You begin to sense that your life is not just a sequence of events, but a rhythm, a pulse, a spiral. That what you call destiny is not written in stone, but etched in vibration, constantly shaped by your awareness and intention. You begin to live from Kairos, the soul's timing rather than Chronos, the machine's ticking. Kairos does not rush, it does not panic, it does not fear delay. It knows that the flower blooms exactly when it must, that the fruit ripens not by force, but by fullness. And you, too, are ripening, not late, not early, perfectly on time. And so now the call comes not from this page, but from within you. Not a command, not a doctrine, just a whisper. Wake up. You've always known this truth. You just forgot how to listen. Time is not your cage. It is your canvas. You are not here to race. You are here to remember. So close your eyes not to escape, but to see. Feel the breath pass through you. Feel the stillness behind it. Feel the eternity within it. This is your moment, not borrowed, not future-bound. It is yours, entirely. Take it, shape it, live it as if the clock never owned you, because it never did. And now, step into your time as if it were sacred, because it is. What if time was just the frame of an invisible prison?